To another different edition of Conference Carolinas Chat. So we got a really fun one today. We're going to be talking about the inaugural year of our mentor program in Conference Carolinas. We got joining us Assistant Commissioner Jill Weston, Director of Athletics at Leeds McRae, Craig McPhail. We got Megan O'Farrell, the King women's soccer student athlete, and then Nate Jones, who's the conference officer for Conference Carolina. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks.
All right, Jill, I'm going to start with you. We're always trying to look for ways to be progressive, to kind of add more student involvement, get them involved in different ways. But can you kind of talk about how all of this came about and really just kind of tell us about the mentor program?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Brian, for having us. This program is one that I'm actually really excited about. It came about because I am currently a participant in the D2 ADA and NCAA combo for their women's and minority mentor program. And I've personally seen the benefits of that program. So I knew doing something like this for our conference would be really impactful for our students. So I have to give thanks to the ADs and Commissioner Colvin for being so supportive when I brought this idea to them. But for those that don't know much about the mentor program, like you said, it is the first year that we've been doing this program. But it's basically where we pair a student who's on the path to have a career in a sport administration with an athletic administrator from our conference, more than likely at another institution, basically to allow those students to start building those networks that they're going to need to be able to get their foot in the door and to be able to learn more about the field that they want to pursue on a more one-on-one individual basis. So I've always been a really firm believer that when you're starting out, your reputation is your resume. So it's important to be able to assist our students with building those networks, and this was a great opportunity to be able to do that.
Yeah, and Nate, speaking of building those networks, you kind of, for lack of better verbiage, really hit the ground running with Jill and getting this going. What's kind of been the most fun part for you as you kind of implemented yourself in this process?
Well, it's been really fun. I mean, we started this project, like you said, pretty early. So we were planning things within my first couple of weeks here, and it was really cool to envision this idea. And I just graduated pretty recently, and last year I was working pretty hands-on with a lot of student athletes, specifically men's basketball at VCU. But then coming here, you're a little more removed from the day-to-day or working with the student athletes. So it, just once we got started with it, it was really cool to, be able to interact with them in the large group setting. And then even when Jill and I are on the call with them monthly, just, being able to ask them how their calls have been going, be able to, talk about some things that might be coming up, some tips that we can give them. It's really cool for me just because I feel like I was just in their position not too long ago, even though it's been a couple of years now. But it's really been a lot of fun to be a part of, and just being able to work with them has been awesome.
And Craig, you obviously have a few things going on as an AD, and then also dealing with the things surrounding the pandemic. So, but why was it important to you to still be involved this year and make sure that you helped out in the inaugural year of the mentor program?
Listen, I think anytime you can mentor young people as a way of paying it forward or giving back is critical. I've been blessed in my sports experiences and sports life to have had a lot of people who've either pulled me aside, put their arm around me, and just kind of guided me as best they could, and given me some of their tips and advice along the way to kind of help make the journey a little bit easier. There's still no blueprint or roadmap, but anytime you have a chance to work with young people, at least for me, it keeps me in the game. It makes me feel like you're doing something positive. You're involved and engaged at a level that kind of keeps you young and refreshed and energized. And Megan and I just have had a blast getting to know each other and working with each other and just telling stories and sharing life experiences that has made this experience for me just so rewarding. I really look forward to our Tuesday morning chats and just where we're going and what we're doing and sharing things that are happening in our lives that, may not be sports related, but they're just so impactful to what we do. And I've enjoyed it, and I've rambled a lot, but it's just been very meaningful, probably more so in this time that we deal with some of the stuff that we can't control. But I've met a friend, and I've really enjoyed the time that we've spent getting to know each other. And it's not just going to be over this the program setting time. We're going to be friends for life, and I'm going to always stay in touch with her, and I want her to feel the same way with me, because what we've shared is just our journey through her senior year in COVID, and me trying to manage a pandemic, but yet we're still got the same thing in common. We love college athletics, and we're competitors. So it's been really, really a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, and it's never rambling when you're telling a story and you're talking about something that you're passionate about. So that was really awesome to hear. And Megan, you're a student, you're a student athlete. You got a few things going on. Much the same thing he was talking about. Why was it so important to you as you're preparing for the next 3 to 5 years of your life to be involved in this mentor program?
So I have been playing sports for as long as I can remember. It is essentially my entire life. So since that part of me, at least participating in sports, is coming to an end, I didn't want to lose the sports aspect in my life, because I know Craig and I had a whole meeting about how we just couldn't do anything without sports. Like, it has to be there for us to get through the day. So I wanted to come into this program just to learn about all the ways that I could keep sports in my life while also pursuing a career path that I might be interested in, such as athletic administration.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And, ironically, I was having a conversation with Nate earlier today on much of the same thing, talking about that in another call, about talking about how important sports are to us and why we do what we do. And, Jill, we've heard a lot of that from other people. What, if you've kind of implemented the program over the last few weeks, months, even now, I guess, what is kind of some of the feedback, and what have you heard about the program so far?
I think it's been good feedback. I'm really appreciative and thankful that we had such a large cohort for the first year. So we've been able to opportunity to match people up that may otherwise not even have ever met the individual at the other institution. And then Nate and I have been having monthly calls with the mentee cohort, just to start planning on different skills and things that they're going to need throughout their entire life. It's not just their senior year. So we've had really good feedback with our cohort meetings. We've talked about graduate school. We're going to be talking about interview techniques, resume building. And it's a great way for people to bounce ideas off of each other within those meetings. So I'm really excited for the upcoming months, and really excited about hopefully the time that we can get back to normal and they can go visit each other on campus.
Hey, that's awesome. Hey, Nate, you talked about it. You graduated a long time ago, 2 years ago. And so, you bring a unique situation. I joke, but at the same time, you really do bring a unique thing to this process from your angle and from you helping Jill, and that you can relate a lot easier than maybe some of us. I'm 40 now. So, I try to think I can remember back to my playing days when I played college soccer, but that's a long time ago now. So how do you relay that to these student athletes, and how do you help in that regard in your role?
Yeah, I mean, it's really easy to see myself in their shoes. It was so recent for me, but opportunities like this, I don't think always come about. So, this is a really unique experience that not most people don't get. So I try to keep reiterating, take advantage of this opportunity. If you have questions that you might, not know who to ask, this is the time to ask it. If you want to know, the ins and outs of working in college athletics, or how you can continue to keep sports around, this is the time to do it. I just continue to reiterate taking advantage of this, because as I was going through undergrad, I was kind of the same way. Sports were everything, and then towards the end, as we were talking about earlier, Brian, it kind of, life kind of comes up on you quickly, and so just being able to do this and have this network, not only of other student athletes, but of administrators as well as to lean on, is, I think, something that's really important.
And Craig, speaking of life coming on you quickly and those next steps, you've been an SID, you've been an administrator, you've been a head coach, you're now a director of athletics for a while now. You obviously bring a unique perspective to this as well. When you're talking, not just even to Megan, but when you're talking to student athletes, or even just students that are looking to get into whatever field, kind of what are some of the things that you relay?
I think it's important to meet as many people as possible. I think that the networking piece can't be overstated. It's just critical to have yourself engaged in every aspect. And for Megan's sake, she's in the student activities. She's an education major. She's in the teaching cohorts. She's a student athlete. She's a women's student athlete. So I mean, she's highly engaged. So I'm telling her, similar to what Nate, take advantage of all these opportunities, meet as many people in different areas and platforms as possible, but also don't singularly focus yourself on one thing, because you may go do that and find out shortly afterwards that's not really what your passion is or what you're driven to do. And sports has always been something that she's played. I mean, it's what she's familiar with. It's what she's comfortable with. So in that, use sports as an outlet or an avenue to pursue the rest of your dreams and goals. So I'm always, we're always talking about, I know you've got a good 3-year plan. I know you've got a good 5-year plan. I know you feel pretty confident about what's going to happen after graduation at King, but let's not close this door on a master's degree. Let's not close this door on a GA opportunity that gets you into that passion for coaching. Don't leave anything completely out of the question, because in today's world, you just don't know. So her friendships, relationships, the ability to communicate with different demographics is critical. So I'm trying to, let her know that how she can communicate with everybody on various levels, whether it be text messages, emails, phone calls, in person. There's a way to get those things done in a professional manner, and that impact is going to be great well after that conversation's over, and hopefully that bridges to the next great opportunity for her.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. Ironically, I was talking to a former Leeds McRae student athlete the other day who was saying that went into coaching and then now is doing something completely different and thriving in what she's doing. But, doing that coaching led to that. And it was really cool to talk to them. And we got a story coming up on that in a couple of weeks on conferencecarolinas.com again, to give that a plug as well. But Megan, kind of going off of what he was saying, you've talked about your 3-year plan to him. If you could kind of divulge some of that to us, or even if what does that kind of look like for you over the next few years, or what do you hope that it looks like over the next few years?
Yeah, so like he said, I'm an elementary education major. So I am planning to go back home to Raleigh, North Carolina and teach. But I would like to start out with a little bit of coaching, maybe for some of the one of the high schools around the area. And Raleigh has a really strong soccer area with NCFC. So maybe coaching then or there. And then I would like to go on to get a master's in sports administration, sports management, something like that. And continue to pursue just athletic administration and kind of work my way up to possibly being a collegiate athletic director in the very end. So just taking the steps to get to that end goal.
And that's awesome, because we love seeing that. I mean, all of us can speak to that. There's nothing better than seeing student athletes go on to do those types of things. But, I'd be remiss, and I didn't tell you I was going to do this, but I'd be remiss. You were telling me off grid about, the plans for a special graduation ceremony that y'all are going to have between the mentor and mentee. Are you comfortable telling that story, or Elaine, or what you have plans?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I don't mind. Megan, all right. So Megan's at a rival institution. King and Leeds McRae are separated probably by, it's not much more than an hour ride, probably about 40 miles or so. In that Bristol, Johnson City area is a restaurant called Pal's. It's no dining. It's not much more than a cinder block building. It's completely drive-through, but it's got some of the best burgers and fries and such. And so Megan and I were kidding around on one of the last ones that, hey, when we get through this pandemic, or when we get through this program, and part of her celebration of graduating as a college student, I'm going to come up there and we're going to have pals on a picnic bench, and I'll bring a mortarboard and maybe a cap and gown, maybe not. And we're just going to celebrate the opportunity that we've had to get to know each other better, and certainly wish her the best. And hopefully, we stay in touch throughout the process. And if I can ever be a resource or a reference for her, we're going to do it. But we're going to celebrate with a Pal's burger or some hot dogs and a milkshake, and just really enjoy the time we got to learn more about each other.
And that's really cool. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but that really kind of tells the story of what the mentor program should be, and what you want it to be. You mentioned earlier that, you want to be friends for life. And so basically it's going to be pals having pals. So, you're going to be able to enjoy that together and have a great ending to the relationship now that will go on for well into the future. And that is very much the embodiment of what we want the mentor program to be. And I know Jill is shaking her head. Yes, that's exactly what we want it to be. So speaking of that, we really appreciate all of you today for taking your valuable time to talk about the mentor program. And we'll see everyone next time on Conference Carolinas Chats.